All right, FIFA announced there will be fan zones to watch the World Cup game next summer. One of those locations, Tyree, Vancouver, Washington. I'm
Dude,
excited.
that's right here. That's
Yep.
literally right here on our park. And here to join us, Danny Navarro, who is a content creator. And Danny, you focus on ticket information and fan experience, right?
That is correct. Also helping fans save money and travel for the 2026 World Cup. You know, a lot of the times people just worry about getting the tickets to the game and actually getting to the game, or being at the game, I should say, but they really don't focus on the planning and logistics. And considering that this is going to be the largest World Cup in history, yeah, we're going to need to take some time to plan.
Right, and
That's pretty
planning,
cool.
it's going on already. What exactly can you tell me about these fan zones? What are they? What are they going to consist of?
Yeah, so these fan zones are supposed to be community watch parties. I think that's the best way to describe them. At least for Washington State, they announced 9 of them across the entire state, which is something that at least I haven't seen be announced by the other World Cup host committee cities across the 3 countries. And from what I'm noticing, is that this is definitely a moment and a drive to push tourism into these other parts of the state of Washington and into the greater Pacific Northwest area.
That's such a good point. Well, I have one more question. I know Tyree, you have some questions.
Yeah,
but-
no, for sure. Go
Danny,
ahead.
you were at the 2022 Qatar World Cup. I saw your pictures. I was, snooping, creeping in. Did they have these fan zones over there, or is this something
Yes.
new in the United States? Oh,
No. They definitely have these fan zones over there. And actually, I went to the majority of the fan zones in Dubai, which is in the UAE, as opposed to in Qatar. So these fan zones, they're going to have big screens. They're going to have different places where you can either go ahead and sit, which is probably more of the VIP section, or just stand around with fellow fans, food and drinks, entertainment. So just think of like I guess you could say like a community fair, but just with massive screens to be able to watch these games. And I really do, at least from my point of content creating of travel and tourism, I really do think that this is what the Seattle committee was focusing on, going for promoting other parts of Washington State, so in that way fans that are, focused in Seattle, perhaps in between the games, can go to these other places, enjoy some of the local scenery and local eats and etc., and then be able to still watch the World Cup, not having to come back to Seattle.
Danny, it's funny that you mentioned Seattle because you know that we're here in Portland. We don't really get games close to us, right? So I'm curious, this fan zone, isn't it supposed to be like kind of a World Cup feeling?
Yeah, I mean, and that's really the whole point of these fan zones, right? Bring the World Cup to other parts of, well, specifically Washington State, because that's what Seattle's focused on. But if you really think about it, a greater effort to integrate the Pacific Northwest together in this, because you also have to take into account Vancouver is also hosting World Cup matches, and they're looking to organize their fan zones for, well, at least for now, the city of Vancouver. But like I said, Washington State took the lead here amongst the 16 host cities in making the entire state be integrated in this aspect of the fan zones.
how much? I know the Club World Cup is happening in the United States, this year, this summer. Seattle, one of the venues because of the Sounders. Is there
Right.
going to be like a part of the, like a testing period with the Club World Cup to prepare for 2026? Do you know anything about that?
You would think, right, that they would use this specific tournament, that Seattle really fortunate because they won the CONCACAF Champions League, a couple of years ago, to use it as a test. And what we're what I'm looking for, right, as a content creator of travel and tourism, is how are the airports going to perform? How's the public transportation going to perform? Hotel rooms, overall vibes of the city, which is almost kind of subjective. But if you're going to be hearing from this summer, from 2025, fans complaining about, the airport was too busy, or, the restaurants were too packed, or not enough hotel rooms, or things were too expensive, that should be a warning signal to the host committee, and to the city itself and to the state, that they're going to have to pour some last minute resources to ensure that the fan experience is one of a kind, and that fans are not complaining while they're in the region for these World Cup matches.
Well, Danny, we only got a little bit of time left with you, but I want to ask you something real quick because what you're doing is awesome, especially for people who are in economic financial ships that can't maybe afford to go to the World Cup, but they are big soccer fans. One tip for people that are watching to help them kind of get prepared a little bit going forward. What is one tip that you could give some people around here to get financially prepared for this 2026 Cup?
Yeah, absolutely. Open up a high yield savings account. Compared to traditional regular savings accounts, that's going to help boost your savings for things like a World Cup. And attached to that, start a budget. Keep track of your expenses. It doesn't have to be a complex spreadsheet. It could just be grabbing a pad and a pencil or a pen and just track your expenses. That's going to help you visualize what are you spending, where can you cut back, and that money that you're saving, in effect, put that in the high yield savings account, and you're going to see that you're going to be able to save several hundred, if not a couple $1,000s, by the end of this year when tickets are expected to go on sale sometime around October, November. FIFA's still being a little cryptic as to the timeline of when these tickets are going on sale. And if you think it's too late to save, trust me, it's not. I'm actually right now at $500 saved for the World Cup. Funny enough, I decided to use my savings for the World Cup. I had built up to $5,500. I decided to pay off my student loans instead. So
Smart man.
Responsible
exactly,
man.
just take
Good
care
man.
and then just start again. So there is time still to save money for the World Cup.